Hi guys, Blake and Ryan here today with Lilley's Landing Resort and Marina on beautiful Upper Lake Taneycomo. It is Friday the 18th and we're gonna do the one cast for you today. Oh, let's see, it is about 50, I don't know, 52 degrees or so outside. They are running, well, they were running a little more than one unit. It was probably about a unit and a half. When you set the hook, you don't have to, you just kind of do that. So today, Ryan and I are going to try stripping some crackle-backs on the fly rods here. We both have 5-weight rods. He's using a TFO Pro 2 5-weight, 9-foot 4-piece, and I am using a G Loomis GL2 5-weight 4-piece. We got our leader material is 5X, the Rio green 5X. I'm using a size 14 gold crackleback. Oh. And he is using a size 14 bright green crackleback. I'm off today, but I've been up here fishing. And I really, after yesterday's one cast, seeing all these fish coming up here and feeding on midges in this real shallow water, I really wanted to give it a try. So I've been up here fishing, trying different cracklebacks, different soft hackles, and they took the soft hackle a couple times, but they've really been on that green and gold crackleback. So that's what we're going to try for you today. And I'm going to actually scoot the boat out just a little bit more. I can't quite decide which spot I want here. I'm going to come right off the end of these rocks here. We're seeing a lot of fish kind of up in this area feeding. Okay, here we go. Make this my first official cast. And we are just, there's still a heavy amount of current here. We're just letting these baits swing with a couple, 2 or 3 little 1-inch strips, and then let it swing a little more. There's no weight on these. Those cracklebacks are just skimming right underneath the surface of the water. We got quite a bit of wind today, probably a 10-mile-an-hour gust or more. But I tried some bigger, some size 12 soft hackles and cracklebacks. They didn't seem to like the bigger. I got a few bites on the size 14 black soft hackle and the size 14 dark green or light green crackleback, and the size 14 gold have been the best. Once again, I don't know, did you get any fishing reports today, Ryan?
I had one John boat out, and they caught their limit. Not close to.
Ryan says we had one John boat out on the water today, and they caught their limits, and he says he's not sure what they were using. I did try when I was up here. Nothing officially on the first cast. I know that was a few casts ago, but I did try putting little baby split shots on, and they didn't seem to like the drift of the crackleback with the weight on. They're only taking it weightless, so it's really just barely underneath the surface of the water. This method, it's definitely not a heavy flow method, unless you could find a real shallow area whenever we have heavy flow. But whenever we have light flows like this, you can find these patches of skinny water, and I talked about it yesterday. You could park your boat along the bank over there and get in here with your waders. It's no more than shin deep. And you could fish all this doing these same methods. And another good method through here, it's a really high density scud area, so drifting a scud under an indicator, probably just a weighted scud honestly through here with this flow. But this spot locking like this, it requires a lot of casting. I'm having a hard time getting my crackleback to go underneath the water there. Alright, I'll scoot the boat down a little bit. This method is another one of those kind of sightseeing methods. You can spot where the fish are coming up and midging the most and plant your boat so that you can get some casts over the top of them. But right now there's multiple areas like up in that narrow flat where you can spot lock your boat and do this. We're actually going to go try a few more of those areas here in a little bit. But this is something I haven't got to play around with much on Taneycomo, and something I love doing. It's real fun to strip those cracklebacks and soft tackles. Oh, Ryan, is that your first fish ever stripping on a... Did he come off? All right. Oh, nope, he's still on there. Very good. Now let him have the line whenever he takes it. Ooh, that might be a natural born rainbow there. Let me put the action on you here. All right, Ryan's first ever fish stripping a crackleback. And that guy is small enough to be a natural born Taneycomo rainbow. Looks like he's got all of his fins. Very cool. Yeah, I'd say that's a natural born. When they take these flies, it's usually just right in the corner of the mouth. quite a bit of activity over here. I noticed right before we left the dock there was a pretty heavy midge hatch going on. I'm gonna switch over, try the dark green, because I was flipping back and forth earlier. I'd catch 4 or 5 on the gold, and then it seemed like they'd kind of die off, and then I'd switch to the little green one, and then they'd start biting again. Kind of funny how that works. Okay. Let's try, and this one is the same size. It's a size 14, but it is a darker green. Whenever I go to Bennett Springs and fish, and I'm fishing a crackleback, I almost always catch them on the green. It's a good go-to. This rod I'm using here is a Lefty Cray I think that's Lefty Cray Signature Series, 7'6", 3-weight, 2-piece. The crackleback kind of imitates a midge. It actually represents a group of midges stuck together. And this wind, even though I'd prefer a little less of it, this is not a bad thing right now. It's creating a little bit of that chop on the water, keeps the picture a little unclear for them, but they can see the outline and the silhouette of the fly. Usually gets them to bite a little better than if per se we were completely dead and there was no wind here. Certainly makes casting a little harder. So on a windy day like today, a 5-weight is definitely the better way to go. But some of the other areas on the lake, this spot from that big tree in the water all the way down to the end of the island here is good for this. Over on the north bank, on the opposite side there, right above at the very top of the narrows, against the edge of the bank over there, it's really shallow, got some really fast moving water. Me and Dwayne talked about it the other day, where that's one of the areas where oh, he took that right off the as soon as it landed. We were talking about that area over there, north bank, right above the narrows, where they kind of did their mating last year. That would be another, oh, there he is. That would be another good area to do it in. I'll tell you what, a 3-weight rod makes even a little fish feel like a big fish. And that looks like another natural born rainbow to me. Very pretty. I don't know if I can get him to the camera before he falls off my hook. Very pretty par marks. Come on, bud. Really fat. He's eating real good. And he's got all his fins. I would say that that is another natural born rainbow. And that was on the dark green there. Red hackle on both the flies we're using today. The crackleback can have, you can make it a gold crackleback, but you could put whatever color hackle you want on the outside. So you could have red hackle or green hackle or white or black. The hackle, oh, he hit that as soon as it landed. The hackle that we have on our gold and green flies today is red, kind of a maroonish red. More of kind of that natural cape color. A day like today with this much chop would probably be another good day for small streamers. Real small cracklebacks. Little slump busters. When I do this, I usually don't like too much leader material. I'll cut it down shorter. Get about 7 to 9 foot at max, but probably more like 7 foot from my end of my fly line to the end of my tippet. I think when you have it too long, it just kind of gets caught in the wind and gets whipped around, tied in knots. Something else you do when you're using this method is play around with the speed that you're stripping it at. Sometimes they like long, slow strips. Sometimes they like little continuous fast ones, and intermediate or intermittent. So you just gotta play around with that. You'll eventually find your cadence. I'm going to try to get us a little farther down and a little closer to the bank. As it drops down here, it gets a little deeper. Not much though. This is really shallow water. We're playing around in less than 2 foot right now. So you definitely want to have your trolling motor set as high as it can go and still operate. With a wind like today, you got to be careful, because if you don't have that trolling motor set where it's got control and that wind gets to blowing you, you will wind up beached pretty quickly. Oh, what is that? Did I catch a sculpin? I think I caught a sculpin.
Looking for that 25-inch rainbow you saw yesterday?
Yeah. I think I found his food source though.
Hold that up for the camera.
Well, that might be the smallest creek chub I've ever caught. And I mean the smallest. I couldn't even really tell I had him on there. It's amazing to think that there's this many fish held up in this shallow water, but they are here. And you can see them surfacing all the way against the bank. Something else you do when you're trying to strip these cracklebacks and soft tackles is just, if you're not getting a bite every 10 to 12 casts, pull in, change your size, change your color. Because a lot of the time in water like this, they're feeding on something. They're feeding on one of those colors, one of those sizes. You just gotta keep tying on flies till you figure out which one it happens to be. And for the most part, I'm just casting out exactly even at the bank and then letting that fly swing. Now you can quarter downstream, so if I was quartering, I'd start off with a cast here. The next cast, I'd go at a little bit of an angle this way, and you can keep angling it downstream. Did you have a bite?
It looks like my line is doing under.
A lot of the time when you're doing this, you'll feel them sometimes, but a lot of the times you'll see that line jerk. Something will stop that natural swing. That usually means you got a fish on there. I'm gonna scoot us out again. Not seeing as many fish feeding up in there. Go right there. Yep, that should be right in your finish, right in the end of your swing. I'm just gonna say right now, I highly don't recommend a 3-weight in this kind of wind. It's very hard to cast. I brought it with me because when I was on the dock, there was not nearly as much wind blowing down there as there is up here. And of course, they're not biting like they were when I was up here by myself without the camera turned on. That's about how it always works. There's one. Is it another creek chub? I think this week I've caught more creek chubs than I ever have in my entire life. Yeah, except that one's got a belly on him. He has been eating a lot of midges. I think we'll scoot down a little farther for the last part of the video here. See if we can't swing in front of that root wad where I caught that nice rainbow yesterday. Oh, I can see fish. Trout down there rolling. Ooh, did you see the size of that trout? There's a big one right over there, no water at all. Oh, I'm seeing quite a few feeding right here. We gotta stop. Something you want to check every once in a while, kind of like when you're drifting, you want to check your fly for moss. Well, when you're stripping, you want to pull it in and make sure that that fly hasn't knotted itself up on the end of the line to where it's not giving a natural presentation. Oh, Ryan's hooked up. Got a rainbow there this time, huh? At least you got away from the creek chubs. Call me the creek chub master this week. Oh, we had doubles. Dang it. That one felt big. I don't think he's gonna bite that again. He tasted the hook on that one.
Another maybe natural.
Yeah. They did. Hard to get to, aren't they?
Arm's not long enough.
Yep. I'd say that's another natural born trout. Lots of them hanging out over here in this skinny water, eating and getting big. Yeah, they're hard to hold on to when they're that small. All right, I say we go for a second longer and then we're gonna call it a day on the video here. But we're gonna stay right here and keep fishing these cracklebacks. Oh, Ryan was hooked up again. You got your little spot back there.
Yeah, we did a good spot.
If it's funny, if you can get your boat positioned just in the right spot and get where the pocket of fish are right below you, and you can get it to where your line straightens out right into the pocket of fish, you will just set and nail fish. But getting that perfect lineup isn't always a lot easier said than done. If you can get it to where your line finishes swinging right into the face of those fish, they can't hardly stand it. Oh, guess what? I'm casting a flyless line. If you get to popping that thing too hard, your knot will break, and then you'll be fishing with no fly. Luckily, I've got another one rigged up here. Maybe if it doesn't get tangled in that other rod. All right, back to the gold. Do you? That last fish, take it. A lot of the time, it's real easy to set the hook on a bigger fish. They turn their head, and it'll snap that fly off. It's just part of the game whenever you're working with tiny line and tiny flies. Earlier, I caught a nice fat one. Went to pick him up by the fly, and it just snapped the barb straight off. I'll tell you what, that crackleback I tied on this rod, it's got some extra hackle on it or something. I can't hardly get it to go below the surface. And sometimes you can use these just like dry flies and put a little dry fly oil on them, float them right there on the surface. But at this time of the day and these conditions, it's better for that crackleback to just be barely underneath the surface. All right, well, today we tackled the baby fish, but we thank you guys for watching. Like and share us on Facebook, and we'll be back out here again to do it again tomorrow. Thanks, guys.